Okay. Greetings, everyone. My name is Tamara Connell, the Director of Sustainability Literacy and Communications at the Natural Step Canada. For the next hour, we're going to be conducting a webinar on sustainability literacy projects, and just to give you a bit of information about the project that we're doing and a few updates. Hopefully you'll all be seeing the slides as we go through and hearing our voices nice and clearly. Just to note for you all that we're recording this session and we'll be making it available afterwards, as well as the slide deck in case you'd like to refer back to anything that you see here today. So just to kick us off, my name is Tamara Connell. As I said, I'm the Director of Sustainability Literacy and Communications at the Natural Step Canada. I've been working with the Natural Step Framework, also known as the Framework for Strategic Sustainable Development, for about the past 8 years, and have been officially with the Natural Step for the past 1.5 years. And my co-presenter today is our Executive Director, Chad Park, and I'm going to hand it over to him to maybe say a few words about himself and then to start us off with the webinar today.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tamara. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm pleased to have you all join us for this this webinar on sustainability literacy. My background is that I'm, I guess, a long-serving member of the Natural Step team here in Canada, and I've been with the organization about almost 12 years now. So, have played a few different roles, including doing a lot of work on our training and education initiatives, and also on advising organizations and their sustainability strategies over the years. I'll flip the slide now, Jamil, just to give a little bit of background on the Natural Step and why we're having this webinar. So first of all, the purpose for the webinar is fairly simple. It's to share some of our early work on an initiative that we've formulated over the last 6 months or so on sustainability literacy. And so we'll share a hypothesis that we're building around sustainability and its role in change, and update you on some of the activities and collaborations that we've already started in this direction. And we hope to receive some feedback from you on either right on this webinar, or also as part of a follow-up to this webinar on some of what we present here. So it's fairly straightforward. In terms of the Natural Step, for those who aren't familiar with the organization, we're an international NGO and have been working in the sustainable development field for 25 years. Our approach is really grounded in a scientific approach to sustainability, and the framework that Tamara referred to earlier, called the Framework for Strategic Sustainable Development, is, or sometimes known as the Natural Step Framework, is kind of at the root, and has been at the root of a lot of our work over the years. It's a holistic and generic framework that can be applied to a whole range of contexts to help groups and organizations to integrate sustainability into the way they make their plans and decisions. So for our organization, the key thing I just want to emphasize, I guess, is that our organization over the last couple of years has gone through a fairly significant change in terms of our strategic direction and emphasis, and we're placing a lot. I guess there's been an evolution of our programming in that sense as well, and our core has always been around sustainability education, training and learning, and so on. And we've also had a fairly long track record in helping businesses and municipalities and other organizations to integrate sustainability through our advisory services. And we continue to do that work. But our strategic emphasis now for the last couple of years and going forward is much more on multi-stakeholder collaboration. And the reason for that has been, a whole range of reasons, but one big reason is that a recognition that we, and we know many others have come to, that we're not going to achieve our mission to accelerate the transition to sustainability by just working one organization at a time, that a lot of the big issues we face are systemic, and they therefore require groups working together who maybe aren't used to working together or aren't used to working together well. So that in that context, we had launched a program or an initiative called the Sustainability Transition Lab, which is an approach to multi-stakeholder collaboration that embeds some of what the Natural Step has learned over the years about change and blends it with emerging and best practice from others in multi-stakeholder work. I say that because part of the process of kind of getting to that emphasis for our organization involved some thinking about how we do our programming and how we do our planning. And one of the key, I guess, pieces of input in that process was a presentation we had from David Hughes, who at the time was the CEO of another NGO called Pathways to Education, and he was the former CEO of of Habitat for Humanity. And one thing that David emphasized was the need to for NGOs that are looking to scale up their impact to begin the planning with not with the organization at the center, as in how can we expand our programs, how can we expand our services and so on, but rather putting the issue at the center, the issues that we serve, and to consider ourselves a part of a constellation of players who act to serve that issue. So the whole notion of collective versus individual or organizational impact has been kind of at the core of our exercises we went through, is to talk about, well, what issues do we serve? And in the process of doing that, we realized that sustainability literacy is one of the issues that we serve, and is sort of one of the fundamental kind of underpinnings of all of what we do at the Natural Step. And it also runs across all of our programs, so from the Sustainability Transition Lab to the courses that we offer to the way that we engage and have over the years in terms of our consulting and our advisory services. What underpins all of that is a sustainability literacy, or the notion of having an individual or a group of individuals to strengthen their capacity, their knowledge, and their capacity to act around sustainability. So we also realize that many others are working in different ways on this issue and related issues, and so we, as we contemplated that, we initiated this project that you're about to hear more about, that where we, on one hand, wanted to surface some of our own experience and assumptions around sustainability literacy, that, surface some of the things that have been kind of underpinning or maybe embedded in the way we work and the kinds of things that we do in our own programs, and also to explore the connection to what others are doing in this space, and potentially to identify some collaborative initiatives that we could initiate together to improve sustainability literacy in Canada. So on that basis, that kind of gives you a bit of the background as to why we're working on this, and I'll maybe turn it back over now to you, Tamara, to carry on.
Perfect. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for setting that context. So we've created working hypothesis, or a working definition around sustainability literacy, and what we've arrived at so far is what you see on the slide here. Defining sustainability literacy as the knowledge and mindset that helps to compel an individual to become deeply committed to building a sustainable future, and then, basically use that to then make informed and effective decisions. So that's how we're currently framing sustainability literacy as a concept. And specifically, this for us means having an understanding of sort of three main components. So the first is, as you see on the slide, related to the seriousness, the urgency, and then the relevance of the sustainability crisis that we're facing. The second is the integrated nature of the social, environmental, and economic challenges. So essentially being able to see those as interrelated and nested within systems within systems. And then the last one here is actually to talk about the fundamentals of sustainability science. So when we're speaking about how the world works basically and how sustainability or unsustainability is happening, what's causing it, let's try to do that based on some scientific rigor. So that's what we're using as a basis for our work going forward, and open to comments and reflections on this, and we'll ask for that at the end of the webinar today. So using that as a basis, so we just wanted to surface some of our assumptions here. The first is that we, first and foremost, we understand that literacy is about understanding sustainability. Okay, so that's around our actual knowledge, and then also our mindset or our paradigm. And so we also want to be clear that we understand that knowledge doesn't actually lead to behavior change. Okay, and we want to be clear up front that we understand that behavior change actually stems from a wide range of factors, and so that just having knowledge doesn't actually assume that we're going to make different choices or change any of our behavior, but that it is a crucial part. And then we also know that in terms of system science and, for example, writings of Janella Meadows in terms of places to intervene in a system, what the highest leverage is actually to intervene at the level of mindset or paradigm. And that's because that mindset or paradigm actually shapes our behavior. So whatever we believe as sort of the truth in terms of how the world works and our basic assumptions about what is right and wrong or good and bad, those kind of things, that actually shapes our behavior going forward. And the last one here, what you can see on the screen in number 4, so we understand that while obviously mindset is not the only factor, there's a certain way that once you start to understand sustainability and understand in many ways particularly the nested systems related to sustainability and also the urgency of the challenge, it actually can in many ways compel a person to sort of own that more deeply and therefore act more strongly or with more commitment to the sustainability challenge. So those are just some of our basic assumptions, just to sort of put that on the table, because as we were developing this, a lot of the questions and comments were arising here, and so we felt that it would be valuable to state clearly what our assumptions are up front. So we wanted to give a couple of basic examples in terms of mindset shifts. So if we were to actually, how would we know if someone was actually sustainability literate, and what are the actual shifts in mindset that we're looking for? And so this slide is just one example. So it's around how do we define sustainability. So if you ask someone, what is sustainability or how do you define it, you may have people, giving you a total blank stare or a question mark. They may also talk about it simply in terms of financial sustainability. They may draw you a picture, or they may tell you a story about 3 nested systems, as you can see in the image in the middle on the top, around sustainability being the intersection of economy, environment, and society. You may also hear people mention, the 3-legged stool approach to sustainability, balancing economy, society, and the environment. And what we're looking for in terms of our mindset shift is to actually help to encourage or help people to see nested systems or embedded circles, so that the economy as a wholly owned subsidiary of society, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment, and that we can't actually do anything if we're not taking care of the environment first and foremost, and then the health of society within that, and that the society actually determines the economy and what we do with it. So that's a shift that we're trying to be explicit about when we talk about shifting to sustainability literacy. Another example here is defining sustainability. So often we'll hear, and you may also hear in the discourse, sustainability is a journey and there's no clear destination. And we actually say, we think differently. We think that actually sustainability can and is a definable end state, and that we actually must work towards achieving it for the sake of the health of our human society on the planet, within the other environmental systems. Around acting on sustainability, and here are some, mindset shifts that may feel familiar to you. So when we begin to act on sustainability, we often hear in the popular discourse it's around achieving the right balance between social, environmental, and economic priorities. And we say, well, actually, we'd like to, to have people think about transitioning our economy to a future state where it's no longer eroding the social and ecological systems. And in fact, it's not about doing less bad. It's about generating more value and finding new ways to meet human needs that are working within these social and ecological systems, and ideally actually providing additional value to both of those systems. So those are just a couple of examples about the mindset shift that we are thinking about when we're talking about becoming sustainability literate. So just to give you a sense of what we want to do with this sustainability literacy project in 2014. So these are some of the objectives that we set out at the beginning of the year, and they're categorized into 3 categories here. The first is around learn. So we want to learn a little bit about our own impact, our own capabilities. So we have a sense that we're doing something right in our education and our trainings that actually helps people to sort of own sustainability and to act upon it with commitment. And we want to just clarify by asking others who have been through our programs, what is it that we actually do that helps them to perceive sustainability in a different way. We also want to learn from other sort of relevant bodies of knowledge or even other experts, in the field, most likely in terms of regular literacy, like as typically defined in terms of being able to read, but also financial literacy and other forms of literacy. So what can we learn from those fields? What can we learn from the vast fields around behavior change, culture change, human psychology, and all of those things? And then what would that actually mean in terms of strengthening our hypothesis on how we can increase the levels of sustainability literacy and also sustainability action within Canada? The second component here is around engaging with strategic partners. So here we want to explore, in terms of what would be relevant or what are the opportunities for embedding sustainability literacy or sustainability thinking into initiatives that are already existing in terms of other organizations, other projects, other initiatives that are underway. And can we identify some high leverage, some collaboration opportunities to begin to work on so that we can start to advance the levels of sustainability literacy across the country. And the third component here is around equip. So equipping partners, equipping others, and equipping the people we've determined to be strategic audiences with learning materials so that they can learn about sustainability and learn about specifically the framework for strategic sustainable development. And so we're hoping to produce some tangible learning materials there that are relevant and effective. So when we mention strategic audiences, these are the ones that we've currently articulated. So these are, initially the target audiences that you can see listed here. So professional associations, elected officials and policymakers, business leaders, including corporate directors, media, and then also high potential youth. So that's our first sort of draft of strategic target audiences. Realizing, that we can't hit everyone in Canada. We can't expect to try to achieve that in the coming year or even multiple years. But if we were to tackle these audiences, that might actually help to spread that knowledge and spread that mindset in an effective way. So at the moment, in this part in the webinar, I was thinking to maybe just open the floor up a little bit to others with this question, which is, in your opinion, what groups, either the ones listed above or ones that are not yet on our list, which ones are the most strategic? If you were to help direct us in terms of choosing strategic audiences, which groups do you think would be the most impactful? And so what you could do is you could use it, if you don't have an audio option, you could use the chat box. And if you do have an audio option, I believe that you could raise your hand, and then I can unmute you and allow you an opportunity share your thoughts with the rest of the group. So please feel free to use either of those options. You can raise your hand on the function on the screen there, or you can also use the chat function. So I'm seeing a couple notes here, and just in case not everyone can see them, in case they're logging in through a phone. I have one comment here in terms of education, such as universities and schools. Thank you for that. I have a suggestion here around business leaders. Great, thank you. I have another suggestion around post-secondary institutions, specifically the board of directors, professors, and key support staff. That's great, thank you. I'm just going to check if I have any hands up, which I don't. Okay. I also have a comment here around individuals. Okay, so I'm presuming that might mean working with the general public. NGOs is another suggestion, so potentially partnering with other NGOs to enhance their sustainability literacy. Okay, and let me just give that one more minute in case anyone has any additional thoughts that they want to share. Thank you for your comments so far. Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you for that. And we also we'll have a couple of questions at the end of the webinar here that you could potentially write to us with some thoughts. And so this is one that, in case you didn't have a chance to type it in or to mention it here, if you have additional thoughts, you're more than welcome and actually encouraged to send me off an email with any further ideas that you have regarding this question and the ones that we'll bring up further. Okay, so let's move along there. I'm just going to close my dashboard. Great. So here's just an update for you guys in terms of our 2014 objectives. We're essentially halfway through the year, and so this is just an opportunity for us to give a quick check-in in terms of what have we done to date and what are our remaining activities for the remainder of 2014. So in that first category around learning about our own impact, our own capabilities, and also learning from other relevant bodies of knowledge, listed in this table on the left-hand side are the activities to date, and then also the remaining activities on the right-hand column. So I'll give you just a moment for your eyes to read over those, and then I'll follow up with just picking out a few key points. So as you can see, we've started to introduce some of our past participants within our TNS engagement to try and understand a little bit about the factors that result in them becoming more deeply committed sustainability champions. And we'll continue that. We've got to start on it, and we're continuing to conduct those interviews and to compile the results so that we can take that learning forward. We've also selected a couple of theories around integral theory and spiral dynamics, and that's something that we've enrolled in some courses, and we'll be conducting, sort of deepening our understanding in those two theories going forward, specifically around how do you communicate sustainability to different I guess components or percentages of the natural human population in terms of what actually would resonate or what would motivate different people to understand and to feel compelled to work towards sustainability. We've also compiled a literature review around behavior change, personal and collective behavior change and agency. And then we're also going to continue to interview further experts in relevant fields, and as I mentioned before, in fields such as literacy, behavior change, psychology, marketing, and others. And we'll ask you for a bit of feedback on that at the end of the webinar. And then we've also drafted what we're calling our sustainability literacy hypothesis, and we've got some feedback on that. We've actually we're about to finish off our version 2 of the sustainability literacy hypothesis, and in the coming weeks you'll be able to see that on our website, and we'll be again soliciting comments on that and trying to incorporate the relevant ideas and suggestions, and then to publish version 3 as we go forward. So that's a summary of what we've been up to so far in 2014 under the Learn category. The next slide is around Engage. So this is, again, engaging with strategic partners to look for opportunities to collaborate. So to date, we've identified various organizations, various individuals to be interviewed within our different strategic audience segments. Going forward for the remainder of 2014, we're going to look for additional suggestions of audiences and also particular groups or individuals to speak with. We've had some really good conversations with organizations, which are the ones that you can see listed below here: CMC Canada, David Suzuki Foundation, the CPA, Chartered Professional Accountants, Ashoka Canada, Learning for a Sustainable Future. And we're going to continue to explore and have more dialogue with other groups and other organizations to see if there, what are the opportunities for bringing sustainability thinking into their work and actually collaborating on new projects. And we have actually identified several partners within that CMC Canada, David Suzuki Foundation, the CPA, and Ashoka, where we're actually in conversation right now about collaborative opportunities. And I can't share too many details about that, but if you're interested to see further information on that, we'll be sharing that through different channels, including our newsletter and our social media outlets, to share once sort of agreements and information is possible. We'll be sharing that with the rest of the group, the rest of our network. And so basically for the remainder of 2014, we're going to follow up on further collaborative opportunities that present themselves, and the ones that we've already identified and have begun setting up partnership agreements or working agreements. And the other remaining activity is that at the end or near the end of this year, we're hoping to share our hypothesis. At that point, we're expecting it to be version 3 or higher. Some of our learnings today, and then we're also going to try to convene some stakeholders around, just examining what's the appetite for broader collaboration. Is there an interest in other groups to work on a sort of collective impact project or a lab type project around sustainable literacy, either in general or with one of the particular strategic audiences. So that's the information on the Engage section. And finally, Equip. So Equip is about creating learning materials or learning products that are easily shareable, easily picked up by other groups. So today we're pretty excited about our partnership or our support that we've been able to provide Alex Mangyan. He's one of our senior associates, and he's created a Sustainability Illustrated YouTube channel. And I'm not sure, there's a little screenshot here that I've included that shows you that YouTube channel, but he's created a whole variety of different sort of hand-drawn, short, basic videos explaining sustainability and a variety of other tools and concepts. So we recommend, in case you're interested, just to check out that Sustainability Illustrated YouTube channel. And all of them are freely available to be used, to be shared, etc. And if you're interested in supporting that as well, we've got a Patreon account where you can pledge to support in any variety of different categories of financial support for that. We've also assisted TNS in Sweden with the development of 2 new e-learning modules, and those should be available quite soon, summer of 2014. So we should have 2 new e-learning products coming out, and we have a whole bunch of short videos that are available for users to access. And then for the remainder of 2014, simply just looking for additional opportunities. So how can we generate or make available new tools and resources so that our target audiences can can use them and can build up their sustainable literacy going forward. So those are that's a quick summary about what we've been doing, what we've accomplished so far in 2018. Different ways that you can get involved. So we want you to just be clear here about some options for you. So the first is to provide us with a bit of feedback. And on the next slide, I have some specific questions. We're looking for feedback. Of course, you can give us feedback on anything, but in addition to that, which is more than happy to receive that. Second for us, in terms of tangible steps that you could take, is if in case you're interested in hearing more about what we're up to, you're welcome to sign up to our newsletter. That'll keep you up to date with our activities. You can also follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, etc. If you'd like, you're more than welcome to share the work of Alex Magnier, his sustainably illustrated videos. So those can go out to any relevant networks. You could take the videos and embed them in your website, as we've done with ours. Anything like that, we love to have those shared. And finally, you can also actually reach out directly to engage with us. So if you, or you think for your organization, if you have an idea around a collaboration or an idea or suggestion around enhancing sustainable literacy within our target audiences, please do send me an email, and I'm happy to set up a phone call with you to talk about your ideas and see what we can take forward. So here is some feedback that we'd like to receive, and I'll just put out 3 questions here. And also keep in mind the question about strategic audiences that we mentioned before. So regarding our definition, our assumptions, and the sample mindset shift, is there anything there that you feel that you would add or delete or adjust? So that's sort of the foundation that we're building on. So how does that resonate with you? What did you think? Any suggestions that you have for us? The second question is around content areas. So what content areas would you suggest that we explore more so that we sort of ground ourselves effectively in understanding how change happens? So we've already identified that we're looking into areas of literacy, behavior change, marketing, human psychology. Are there any other sort of bodies of knowledge that you would suggest? Or if you have any specific experts in mind that you think that we could or should interview, please feel free to make those suggestions to us. We're happy to hear any of your ideas. And third question here is, how does sustainability literacy actually connect to change efforts that you're involved in? So do you see links here with things that you're trying to do, perhaps as part of your role at work or in with other organizations that you're engaged with? How does that connect to anything that you're working on? What would that mean for you? And then are there ways in which we could collaborate to actually move that forward? So those are 3 questions. If you have any thoughts or comments or answers to those questions and or anything around the strategic audiences, my email address is listed there, tconnell@naturalstuff.ca. So I'm just going to leave that there for the moment. I see a couple questions on my dashboard, so let me just go to those. And then in case anyone has questions that they'd like to discuss using their microphone, again, just put your, raise your hand, and I'm happy, we have a couple minutes left here. Happy to take any questions or any comments. So I just take one question here. What criteria were you using to identify these audiences? Thank you, that's a good question. I'm just going to try and get a selection of these questions. Canadian celebrities, I'm assuming that's a possible audience. Thank you, that's great. And there's an interesting theory, interesting body of knowledge in economics on nudge theory that you might explore. Thanks, Michelle, that's great. And theory view as well, great. So the question I hear, I'm not sure, Alea, if you have access to your audio. So I can unmute you here. But I'm understanding the question. So criteria that we use to identify these audiences. I think that's really great. And for us, I would say initial criteria are what we're seeing as sort of high leverage. So from the one side, it's talking about people that are in decision-making roles. So maybe I'll just go back to our. our audiences here. Oops. Yeah, so people in decision-making roles. So these are what we see under elected officials, policymakers, business leaders, corporate directors. So those are people that are actually making tangible decisions about where resources are directed and where effort is put forward to whether sustainability will be incorporated or not. So that's sort of decision making. Professional associations we've included because of the ability, for one intervention point you could reach, hundreds, if not thousands, of other professionals, and especially if you can integrate sustainability thinking into standards or into professional requirements, then you really start to make some shifts in terms of the sort of the spill out. So, for example, our connection with CMC Canada, which is a Certified Management Consultants of Canada. So, imagine if all of the management consultants that were out there in Canada giving advice to companies, if all of them were doing that with a sustainability mindset. So you can think through and imagine what the impact of that could be. The professional associations, we've chosen that because of the sort of the broader link for the spillover effect. Media is chosen, because of how it sort of shapes the dialogue and shapes the culture, and just sort of imagining how sort of in many ways what the media tells us starts to formulate our mindsets and our paradigms and therefore our behavior from that. So we just think that is an interesting opportunity. And then high potential youth, because it's one thing to start to build literacy in sort of the older generations who are currently making decisions. But what about the people who are going to be making decisions in the future, and also in terms of the people who are are shaping our culture of today. So those are that's a little bit of the thinking in terms of how we chose those particular audiences. Yeah, I'm happy to receive any feedback from any of you on that as well. Thank you for the questions. Do we have any other questions available? We have a bit more time still before we close the webinar. Tad, I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything to the criteria for audiences. If you do, just feel free to jump in there.
No, I thought that was great, Tamara. I guess I would just say that, this is an initial list of what we think could be sort of high leverage places to try to influence sustainability literacy, but it's not that we're necessarily, we're still very much in exploration mode. I mean, where would be the most interesting partnerships directed at some of these audiences and so on, and where is there already good work happening. For example, with media, that's not an area where the Natural Step has a lot of expertise. So, it's not something we've done very much on yet. It's more a group that we've identified as potentially very high leverage if we could influence, together with others, the sustainability literacy of that sector. So, and that's another reason why, really keen on ideas around collaboration and partnership.
You're not getting it. You going to do the lawn city?
Yeah. Thanks, Chad.
Okay, Nick, please.
Move us a little bit forward.
I don't want to hear about it.
Cool.
Stop it.
Yeah, so just as we close, I wanted to just say a thank you to our project funders, the Landmark Group of Builders. You can find them at landmarkgroup.ca, and also the cooperators. So both organizations have provided funding for us to carry on our activities related to the Sustainability Literacy Project, and we wanted to give a big thank you to them and a shout out for their support. So I think with that, if we don't have any other questions, we'll just close off the webinar. I will move us back in the slide deck just to the feedback and the questions. I'll leave this up on the screen here, and just invite you to take note of any of your thoughts on any of those questions, then feel free to drop that up in an email today or at your next convenient moment to send us any thoughts. And those are sort of open-ended questions. We are happy to send them at any time and or just reach out to me and let me know if you'd like to have a conversation about anything related there. So with that, I guess I will say thank you so much. It's been great to have you on the call today and great to see your engagement. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you and really looking forward to seeing if there's a way that we could collaborate or a way that in general we can help to shift the level of literacy, sustainability literacy across the country, and hoping that we can move that. So thanks so much to all of you, and look forward to being in touch. All the best.